Welcome to the PHLY Sixers pregame playoff edition, live from Wicked Wolf on 12th and Chestnut, along with Rich Hoffman. I'm Devon Gibbons with you. We have a game four, a huge game four. You might want to say this one is a must-win as well, as they look to even the series up at 2-2, protecting their home floor after some heroics from Joel Embiid in game number 3, dropping a career-high 50 to beat the Knicks 125-114. Welcome again to the PHLY Sixers pregame show presented by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball to get Coors Light delivered or find a store near you. We have a lot to get into in the short amount of time. We'll have our watch party live here at Wicked Wolf on 12th and Chestnut. It's a fantastic place. Of course, the great owner, John, here. He's been fantastic, already has been. And if you watched any of our NFL draft coverage, along with Rich and Bo and Zach, yeah, you saw that we did have Zach. Yeah, Bo got one too at the end of the show as well on Sunday for day 3, as he got one of his guys drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles as well. You saw our Wicked Wolf hats there for us along the draft, and we are here live on location for this broadcast, getting ready for game number 4. Great food, $4 Coors Light cans here at Wicked Wolf throughout our watch party here. So if you're watching us here, you're out and about, and you're saying, oh, you know, it's a nice day outside, I'm out walking. Let me look at the pregame show, see what Rich and Devon have in store for this game, this 1 o'clock start in South Philadelphia. You know what? Then just drive on over here. Come hang with us.
It's an ABC start, right?
It's an ABC. Yeah, you're fine. 12:30, you'll be good to go. You have plenty of time to get here, so come hang out with us. $4 Coors Light cans here while we're on site. We have giveaways, hats here, T-shirts on the table there. We have some Sixers tickets to give away, some Phillies tickets to give away. We have plenty of things to give away here as you come hang out with us here for the pregame show. But we have to start, Rich, with some actives and inactives here along this next game, which is huge. Can you start us off with some things that you might find interesting when looking at the inactives and the actives for this game 4 matchup?
Well, I just saw the tweet that Mitchell Robinson is out for tonight's game, and I'm sure that will come with some controversy. You know, I think some Knicks fans will
100%
will trace it back to Joel's foul from the other night, which, by the way, I am not defending that foul. I do not think Mitchell Robinson suffered that injury on that foul.
He was already hurt.
He was already hurt, and frankly, like, Josh Hart was on the record after the game saying, like, thankfully it wasn't that play that got him hurt. Not a good foul from Joel there. Like,
not at all. No one defends that.
Nobody's defending that. But that's a big deal, right? And he's out. So the Knicks basically have had this two-headed monster to defend him this whole time, Devon. So I guess we're going to see more Precious Achiuwa at the 5 in this game.
Are you going Precious Achiuwa or Jericho Sims? Now, I know they went Precious Achiuwa because of the foul trouble in game 3, but when we're talking about extended time, does he go Jericho Sims or Precious Achiuwa? I believe you. I'm with you, but I just wanted to throw that in there that they do have a third option.
I guess it depends on what he wants, right? Jericho Sims is a bigger body. He is somebody who I saw some Knicks fans say that he has defended Joel well in the past. I remember Joel racking up fouls on that guy pretty easily in the past. But big body, big active player. But I think in general, Precious Achiuwa is higher on the depth chart for them.
I agree.
So that's a different look, right? He can space the floor and pop threes, but on the other hand, like, he cannot handle Joel one-on-one. Like, he can't even do the Hartenstein foul him and, you know, be physical and try and make him put the ball on the floor. Like, Joel has a huge size advantage over him. So that changes the game up a little bit.
Yeah, it really does. Now, when you look at the other side for Embiid, let's just say it is Precious Achiuwa that is the backup. He extends the floor. Now, something that Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jericho Sims, they do not do that. And we've seen in the past with the Toronto Raptors where Precious Achiuwa will pull away from the basket and shoot from behind the three-point line. That would, and logically, it seems like that would help the Knicks in terms of being able to drop to the basket, which they have seemingly feared a little bit because of the defensive presence of Joel Embiid. But he has to make the shot too. So if you're going to dare Josh Hart, where Embiid has defended Josh Hart, I could see the same thing, and that being a strategy as well to try to pull Embiid from the basket.
Totally, and it's kind of a double-edged sword there, Devon, because on the one hand, Hartenstein and Mitch Rob, great offensive rebounders, right? And it's always a worry,
Great
right?
point.
It wasn't like the Sixers would force a tough shot from Jalen Brunson, he would miss, but it was also like, it was very concerning. Like, can they finish the defensive possession with a rebound. This is different because I think it's going to be harder to force the kind of initial shot because, again, Precious Achiuwa, I think you do have to respect a little bit at the three-point line. Mm-hmm. But when you force that miss, rebounding should be easier. So it's a different type of game. Overall, I think it certainly hurts the Knicks, though, that Mitch Robb played really well in those games. So we'll see. Joel coming off a 50-point game. I think, personally, Devon, we are going to see a lot more kind of hard double teaming of Joel. I'm kind of already leaking into our next segment on the best bets, but I think they are going to try and get the ball out of Joel Embiid's hands in this game. I don't think they're going to be willing to watch him put up 50 points again. I mean, there's only so much you can do, but I think they're going to do a little bit more to say some of these other guys got to beat us. Yeah,
and when you look at the other side for the 76ers, as of right now, as we look at the 12:30, you already mentioned it, Mitchell Robinson out because of the sprained left ankle. Julius Randle has been out after his right shoulder surgery, so no issue there. Joel Embiid is the only other player on the injury report outside of Robert Covington who has been out, and he is available for tonight. So it looks like Joel is able to go. DeAnthony Melton, the other part, not on the injury report, did not appear on it yesterday, did not appear on it today. So, once again, DeAnthony Melton available. I'm saying available.
Is he going to play, though?
That's where I'm leading. Yeah, he's available. What does that do? Because we think Campaign should get those minutes after his performance. 16 minutes, 11 points during that stretch. A lot of that early when he was out there hitting 2 3-pointers, getting a floater in the middle of the paint, and also playing off with Joel Embiid where they had to defend Embiid, leaving him for that floater there in the middle of the paint.
I mean, you have
Melton
to play
is available
Campaign again. You
have to.
Like, he has earned at least the first half run to see what he has. Yep. I'm not saying if he stinks to join up in the first half, you can sit him in the second half. But, like, his energy and his shot making, even though his feet are pointed the other direction from the basket,
for him.
It works. He's playing great. And it's the most Sixers thing ever, right? Where they give up 3 second-round picks for Buddy Hield at the deadline. And the guy that the Bucks had to attach a first-round or a second-round pick to get Pat Bev is the guy who is outplaying your major trade deadline acquisition. The guy Daryl Morey said was the best player traded at the trade deadline. That might have been true at the time. It was not a great trade deadline, but I think Campaign has earned those minutes. And, the question with Melt is, first off, like, they didn't play him last game. So maybe he was available and they just didn't feel like it. The problem with him right now, Devon, is that once he plays, how does that back respond, right? Because for this entire calendar season, it's been like play 2 games, miss a ton of time. Miss 2 months.
Yes.
Play 2 games, miss another month. And he's been on that schedule. And, with the nature of back injuries and kind of how tricky they are, it kind of seems to me like he's going to need some sort of procedure in the offseason. I don't know. I mean,
That's tough, too. Free agency, having to have a back procedure. That's tough for him.
Well, we'll get there, but I'm sure maybe he comes back here on a cheap deal and then gets paid the next year. But it would be great to have Melt, obviously, 2-way player, somebody that Nick Nurse can trust. That is really important. Like, Nick Nurse does not trust Buddy Hield right now, so we'll see. I guess I wonder if Nick Nurse is looking at it though, like, all right, I'm only going to get this guy for 1 game, so we got to make it count.
Which game is that going to be? Right? Is that going to be a game 6 where Sixers win 3 games in a row and they get to a game 6 to try to close it out at home? You put Melton out there to slow down Brunson or Hart or DiVincenzo because of the shooting, of course, that they have provided. Maybe extend the defense even a little bit beyond half court to break up their offensive structure to not allow them to get into their set. So he is available, but Campaign, as you said, earned it. Before we get to Embiid, though, the heel part, it just seemed like, he just didn't have it. He missed the layup opportunity, got by Brunson, got to the rim. It was contested, but it was the layup that we've seen him make before, and he just doesn't seem to have it right now. We were at practice yesterday, and he's always the last one on the floor shooting, running through the drills. He's going to full court, 3-point spots in the corner, switching sides, left side spots in the corner. He has to make a certain amount on each end. And you're seeing him, and I'm standing there, I'm talking to people, and they're like, we already know the guy can shoot. He's one of the best shooters. Like, in today's game, shooters are streaky.
Yeah.
We know that. But it seems almost impossible that he's not making even the good ones. We were sitting there before you were doing your Eagle stuff, and Paul Reed got an offensive rebound. Instead of Paul Reed doing some things that we questioned Paul Reed doing at times,
he kicked it out to him.
He kicked it out to a wide-open corner three-pointer, and he missed it, and he just doesn't seem to have it. Do you go back to him at all after you give the campaign, of course, his run? Do you at least try to go back to him and see him maybe win today's game with a shot or two that he makes? Do you give him a shot?
We'll see. I would put campaign in ahead of him, and maybe, when Buddy was getting those minutes, it was like campaign was getting like a 3-minute cameo for Maxey at the in the first half. Maybe it's one of those things where you run Buddy out there for 4 or 5 minutes. If he looks good, if he knocks down a three, then you extend his run. But I think like the situation matters a lot here. I'm not saying Buddy Hield is blameless here. He's got to make shots. But on the other hand, like he played in such a crazy system in Indy where they didn't care about defense. Tyrese Halliburton is amazing in transition. The guy was shooting wide open threes. I mean, he could pass up wide open threes and still get up 7-8 a game because of the way that Indy played. He comes here to Philly. He doesn't get that partnership with Joel Embiid. Like, Joel Embiid was hurt.
But he had it with Maxey, and Maxey has found him out there on the floor together a lot.
Yeah.
And he's still not making it.
Anyway, though, but I guess my point is I think some of it is just that he has not found the rhythm, found the role that he had developed in Indy for multiple reasons. And look, he's been a disappointment. I think a lot of this is on him. I'm not trying to, take away any of the blame, but I think it might be a lesson for the future too. Like the Sixers might not want to at the trade deadline shop in the 3 second-round picks aisle. I call that the George Hill aisle as well.
Right.
Like if you can help it, a backup guard, maybe go get a backup center at that point because that's more of kind of a plug-and-play option. But we have seen a couple guards here struggle for whatever reason.
Yeah, and the guy that you said that was the most unlikely, he was already out of the playoff rotation. He helps them win Game 3. Much-needed victory there for the Sixers. And because of that, we move to our next topic here, and you alluded to it at the start. The big fella dropping 50. Some heroics in game number 3. And this is, again, folks, if you paid attention to our PHLY coverage over the last few days from Thursday up until where we are right now, on Thursday, Rich was with Bo and Zach, who did a tremendous job covering and anchoring everything for the draft coverage for the Philadelphia Eagles. Rich was there as well, but Rich had an opportunity to sit with us for like the first half. And as we sat there together, he mentioned the Mitchell Robinson play already, which no one defends at all. Kelly Oubre kind of did a little bit yesterday, but we'll leave that alone.
I love Kelly Oubre.
He's fun. But with that said, guys, we were sitting there together saying, what in the world is going on with Joel Embiid right now? He's playing silly, flagrant foul, technical foul, just not looking in sync. And he still had like 16 points in the first, whatever he had in the first half. And with that, though, no, he had 10 in the first half. But with that, we were, how are they gonna win this game if he's playing like this? They were down 3 at the break, and then Richie comes out and scores 40 in the second half, 18 in the third, 5 threes overall, 4 straight in the third quarter. He was phenomenal overall in that game.
Crazy because he, the first half, it's like you said. And by the way, I went in with Zach and Bo to talk about the draft during that third quarter. But it's like you said, we were watching the first half, emotional, just all over the place. He got very fortunate to not get booted. But, look, for somebody who has been a very unlucky player throughout his career, it's about time that guy got a break, So he gets the officiating break, and he took complete advantage of it, Devon. The third quarter, and I don't usually curse here, that was a fucking masterpiece, man. Their offensive rating in the third quarter was over 200. It was an over 200 offensive rating, which means they were averaging over 2 points every trip down the floor.
Wow.
Like, it was like we were saying after I came back, you were like, yeah, the Knicks are having a really good offensive quarter, and they're just losing ground because if you miss a shot and the Sixers get a rebound, it's on average, you're giving up 2 on the other end.
Yep.
And I think the main play that the Sixers ran, they ran the hell out of that double drag screen.
Yep.
And I think, Nick Nurse is a very creative defensive coach, but that is something we saw from Brett Brown and Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers called it, if I'm remembering this correctly, feed the pig. Now, I don't exactly remember why he called it feed the pig. It just means run the same play over and over. If they can't stop it, run it until they stop it. And they run the play, and it's basically just a double drag screen at the top. And the key is the first screen, because that's Jalen Brunson's defender, who is Kyle Lowry. And
doing
the
a
Knicks,
phenomenal job setting those screens, by the way.
and if that screen hits, the Knicks are in a real bind because the Knicks want no part of Jalen Brunson guarding Tyrese Maxey. So what can Jalen Brunson do? He can switch. He did switch it a couple times. Tyrese Maxey hit a couple step-back threes on him. He can play back, but then that second screen, which is the one you want, right? The one you want, the Joel screening for Maxey, they got whatever they wanted out of it. They got free throw line jumpers, which, like we said, if he gets like his steps correct on the pocket pass, that left-right, just go into the jumper, that's like a 70% shot.
100%.
I mean, it's just death and taxes from there.
Yeah.
But there are other things that can happen there, too. If they switch that second screen and it's Hartenstein on Maxey, all right, well, guess what? We're running ISO now. I don't think you can guard him. And they just ran it to perfection. They got skip pass for 3 to Lowry, too. Like, they were so good in their offensive execution. And I'm curious, because they're definitely going back to it in this game, what does Tom Thibodeau, who's been crying about the officiating for the last 48 hours, what does he have in store? Because despite the crying for the officiating, I like Tibbs. I think there is a degree of culture setting that happens with him. Pretty much everybody except Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, who has played for him, has turned into kind of a tough, hard-nosed player. And I think the players deserve most of the credit for that, but he deserves some of it too. The one thing he does not do, though, is, and it's part of this kind of this hard-working, culture that he set. He's not as creative as some other playoff coaches. He's like, we're going to do this hard. We're just going to do it better. Yeah. And if he doesn't adjust, I don't know how they stop the Sixers on that play. Now, in fairness, I don't know what the adjustment is because that's kind of like, hey, you have Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid who kind of have a great feel for each other and are both incredible players, incredible fits with each other. That's going to be important. But, I mean, that was an offensive win for the Sixers. That's as good as you can play offense in that third quarter.
They 9 made three-pointers, 9 for 12 in that third quarter, 43 points in that one to bust things wide open for the 76ers. Close it out. To your point also on that double drag there that they had, if you remember, too, maybe you didn't – I know you rewatched it, but in the moment I'm like, oh, they're doing it again. This time it was Kyle Lowry who hit a 15-foot jumper off of it because Dante DiVincenzo, who was on Lowry at that point, he couldn't decide if he was helping Hartenstein to stay with Embiid or still go with Lowry, especially when Lowry did the dribble, picked it up, ball fake, on the ball fake. He was stuck in the middle, didn't know what to do. Lowry knocks down that mid-range jumper, so a little wrinkle there that worked out because of what they were able to do throughout that entirety of the third quarter. So the wrinkles, the chess matches, especially when, as Kelly Oubre said yesterday at practice, no, Nick Batum said it, 7 times they've played already. Not a lot of surprises.
No.
Not a lot of surprises. 4 in the regular season, 3 so far here. This is probably going 6 or 7. And you just have to win the things that you know are going for you in order to get your W. So that's where all of the chess match and all that. This is why you bring Nick Nurse in, folks, where people question Doc Rivers and his adjustments and in-game.
This is why he's here.
This is why Nick Nurse is here, to then go from, with 2 days off, by the way, to go in and see if he can figure out something on the offensive and defensive side for him to help get a victory for his Sixers over the New York Knicks. So when you look at that, you also got 25 from Tyrese Maxey. Ho-hum, no big deal. He's averaging 34. He drops 25. He just needed to be the co-star to the 50 of Embiid. You got the 11 from Campaign, but you also got 15 from Kelly Oubre, which was much needed. 8 in the first quarter, by the way.
You needed all of it, too. And I do think Nick Nurse, even though the Sixers won, Devon, that was not a great defensive performance from them. And I think
They still gave up a $114.
Yeah, they gave him a lot. And Brunson got going. The Knicks
did.
started setting some higher screens for him, which I think is good because it can get him going downhill, and it's a tougher ask for Embiid to, am I going to get all the way up at the three-point line? Am I going to hang back here and protect the rim? So there are some things Nick Nurse has to look at, too, as well. But, yeah, that's why you brought him here, right? It's to win these chess matches. It's to win the series when there are no surprises. Can you come up with that little wrinkle that can get you over the top? Like, I'll remember Game 7 against Toronto, the terrible Kawhi shot at the end. He went double big because he was like, look, our offense has nothing this series, but we're just going to have to win with Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol playing together. And we can say he got a little bit fortunate in that. I think it's fair to say. But he has done that stuff over his career. The boxing one in the finals, those things. And I think, frankly, he has outcoached Tibbs in this series. Like, I think the Sixers, when we talked about, how the Sixers were disappointed after the first 2 games, how they had controlled most of those games, I think that's fair. And I think Nick Nurse could look at that and say, all right, you have to rebound the basketball. Like we're getting the stops I'm looking for here. We got to rebound it. So we'll see. I like where the Sixers are at coming off of that heartbreaking game, too. They got the first win. Got to get this one back, though.
Yeah, so when you look at, before we get to our best bets and our predictions in just a second, with the Embiid part of it, with no Mitchell Robinson, Precious Achiuwa, Isaiah Hartenstein, maybe Jericho Sims, Isaiah Hartenstein does get in foul trouble when he plays Joel Embiid.
Well, Tibbs will complain about that.
Oh, for sure. But Joel Embiid is going to get those calls. He had 21 free throws, 19 in which he made. He had 19 attempts from the floor to get his 50. Go figure that, too.
Let me just say something, too. Because, look, I think the Sixers, their unofficial grievance or complaint or whatever.
After game 2.
Was lame. And it's something Daryl Morey.
You said that in the moment, yes.
Well, you just don't want to be the team that is like team grievance. And that's, frankly, Daryl Morey has done that for a long time. So, as somebody who called that lame, let's call out what the Knicks are doing. Tom Thibodeau, stop with the 21 free throws that you've given up. You intentionally fouled the guy 3 times in the last minute. So, when you say 21, dude, it was 15, and you gave him the other 6.
Yep.
Enough. That happened at a game earlier this year. OKC was whining about the refs, too. They put Joel on the line like 8 to 10 times in the last minute, trying to extend the game. Don't give me that he shot 21 free throws. Bro, you gave him some of those. If you're going to intentionally foul him at the end of the game, those numbers are going to be a tad bit inflated. And by the way, we can look at the box score, too. Jalen Brunson shot 12 free throws the other night. His fourth quarter whistle was generational the other night. And it's like the Trae Young 2021 playbook. Like, I get into the mid-range, I'm going to, like, fall backwards into people. So as much as Joel is foul-seeking and baiting, Jalen Brunson, come on, man. He shot 3 less free throws than Joel Embiid, your physical-ass team, putting Joel Embiid on the line 3 more times than your 6-foot guard. Relax, Tom Thibodeau.
Yep, absolutely. Relax, Tom Thibodeau. I'm very curious to see what he does, though, if Isaiah Hartenstein does get in foul trouble, and where he goes from there, and how the double teams come towards Joel Embiid and what they try to do there, and then who steps up in the moment for the Sixers. Do you get someone else other than Kelly Oubre? Do you finally get something from Tobias Harris? Maybe even Buddy Hield? We'll see about all that. Nick Batum, of course, with some big shots. Let's move on to our best bets, man. Sixers right now, 5.5-point favorites at home, courtesy of our good friends from BetParx Sportsbook app. So 5.5 right now. Do you like that line? Where does that lean for you when you look at the 5.5 at home?
Well, I think in general, it's probably like the Sixers are in between a 60% winner and 66, you know? So, like, look, they're favored. They should be favored. Could we have a game where Brunson goes crazy and that changes? Like, look, weren't the Knicks favored by 5 in game 2? Well, that was a bad line. They did not cover that line. They did manage to win the game somehow, as we don't have to relive the trauma of that. But I think that's a fair line coming off of game 3. Like, role players play better at home. Sixers have a little bit of momentum here. Now, the one thing, actually, Joel got 2 days off, so he should still be fresh, too.
Yes.
For some reason, these days have blended together because of the NFL draft and all those things.
Yeah.
No, he's got a decent turnaround here. I think that is a fair line, but it really only means that the Sixers win, 2/3 of the time, something like that. I don't know that to be the case, but that's kind of how I kind of price it in my head. So that's what I think. As far as my best bet.
What's your best bet for the day?
Joel Embiid assists, because it was like I was saying earlier. Scored 50 points the other night. And by the way, for all the free throws he shot, Tom Thibodeau, he shot 13 of 19 from the field, bro. He's making threes in your face. What are you going to do?
And they were crowding him,
They were crowding him, too. Like, you weren't even letting him land on those, and he was still drilling them.
That's why I think one of the 6th attempt, he got fouled. Isaiah Hartenstein crowded him. Also didn't allow him to land.
No.
And he made all 3 free throws. So assist number, what's the assist number?
There's 2. There's 4.5, which is minus 186.
That's easy.
I want the 5.5, which is plus money, plus 117 at BetParx. Look, I think for a couple reasons. I think he scored 50 points, and you're naturally going to want to get the ball out of his hands. But the other reason is that they're probably going to play Precious Achiuwa, too. And if they're playing Precious Achiuwa, that means double teams, because that guy should not be able to handle Joel one-on-one. So give me Joel Embiid over 5.5 assists.
All right, that leads me to mine, where I'm going to lead right to a guy that I think he's going to get a lot of those assists off of, and that is Tyrese Maxey, averaging 31 points on the series right now. Through 3 games, he is shooting in these 3 games 39% from 3 from beyond the 3-point line. But in game number 4, when he finished with 25, he shot 42% from the field, 37 from beyond, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. But for me, when I look at this one with Tyrese Maxey, I think as he only went 3 for 8, it doesn't sound as good because we've seen Tyrese Maxey. I think he makes this is his game where he makes about 5 of them in this one. And a lot of those come off of those Embiid passes. Because of Embiid's 50 and what he did, the Knicks now have to defend him the way that you're talking about, especially if Isaiah Hartenstein gets in foul trouble and then their reserves are there, the double teams come. You know where the double teams are going to come from? They're probably going to come from that way where Tyrese Maxey is the one that's going to be the recipient of that pass, and he's going to make those shots on this afternoon. Sure, players are creatures of habit, playing 7 o'clock at night, 7:30 at night. They don't like the early games.
Joel does not typically like the early games.
No, he does not. So, you know who does?
He better like him, though, this one.
Tyrese Maxey. This is an important one.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Tyrese Maxey. When I look at the number, there were a few numbers here, but I locked in on the 25.5 because of his 25. I think he goes his average here, and he goes past that 29.5. I think he gives you 30 this afternoon over the New York Knicks.
I think so, too. And by the way, it's like you were saying, that the early games, Tyrese Maxey's getting up at 5 a.m.
He's always up.
Right? You know, he's getting 1% better every day, right?
1% better.
And that requires waking up 1% earlier every day.
A little bit.
Yeah, he's look, I think that's a good bet because I think they're going to get the ball out of Joel Embiid's hands.
Yep.
But like when fans say, okay, you need to double Embiid more, okay, you are giving up something else. And when Tyrese Maxey is open on the wings on some of these threes, when Kyle Lowry is open on for 3, they're going to have to make the shots, right? That's the way it works. It's the same thing with the Sixers' strategy of leaving Josh Hart open. Mm-hmm. Playing defense in the modern NBA is hard. You cannot take away everything. You have to be willing to live and die, frankly, with something. But I think they're going to try and double him more, and that's going to mean more open threes. So I'm with you, man. By the way, he scores 30 points very easily. Like, it's just all he needs is to see 1 or 2 of those things go in, and then he's off to the races. So
yep.
I'm with you.
All right, I'm with you on the Embiid assist because then you also had those back cuts from Kelly Oubre and others.
He's
Nick
throwing
Batum
great
as well.
passes.
He's throwing some really good. Did you see that pass Jokic had last night behind the back to Michael Porter down the middle for the dunk?
Well, that was sick because the ball was he couldn't see the ball.
That was crazy.
He just smacked it over to Porter right away. Look, as somebody who's had a lot of arguments about Jokic over the years, that was pretty sick.
That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. All right, prediction time for us here. It's the last part of our show. Don't forget, we'll be back after the game live here from Wicked Wolf on 12th and Chestnut. Come hang out with us for the watch party where we have some giveaways, some prizes, $4 Miller Lite cans, and also, Coors Light cans. My apologies. And also, some tickets to give away as well. Your predictions, man.
Sixers win. Devon, I think this is the game where I don't think the Sixers go crazy. I think Maxey is a big game, Embiid passing. The Knicks are not going to make threes today. That's what I'm going to say, right? They are shooting over 40% for the series. I think this is the game where Josh Hart finally thinks, oh, man, I missed a couple of these in a row, and I'm not that good of a shooter. I mean, what's going on here? Sixers have not gotten one of those yet. I think the Sixers win by, let's say in that 5 to 10 point range. I think it's going to be close. Frankly, in these series, Devon, usually there's one game where it's a complete blowout. Wouldn't be floored, but in my opinion, this is every win is going to have to be earned in this series by either team, and it has been so far.
Yeah, I think they even the series up as well. Close victory for the 76ers. They cover the number, but I think that's just free throw related at the end because this game is going to be another one where we're nail biting throughout for this basketball game. So, two victory calls for us. I see a lot of them in the chat there, and we see a lot of people who really appreciate it. Once again, our show here this afternoon to start off game number 4 is presented to you by our great friends from Coors Light. Our pregame show presented by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Delivered or find a store near you for that Coors Light. For Julia and JP, Rich, I'm Devon. We appreciate you hanging out with us for this pregame. Come back with us after the game. Maybe we're talking about an even series and making it a 3-game series thereafter. Come hang out with us, by the way, at Wicked Wolf. We'll see you here if you join us. If not, we'll see you post-game, still live here from Wicked Wolf. Enjoy the game.
We all silly like the mayor.